It is important to note that an embryo is from conception to the 8th week of pregnancy. After the 8th week until birth, it is considered a fetus. Now, during this video, I will be explaining development of the brain in every stage of pregnancy. To do so, you must know the brain development will include 3 parts, which are the brain, spinal cord, and nervous system. To begin explaining, we will start with the very first 2 weeks. This is when the egg is implanted into the uterine wall. At 3 weeks, still as an embryo, the brain further develops by the embryo's multiplying cells from the neural plate. Then, by the 4th week, the embryo has developed a neural tube and is beginning to develop the forebrain, midbrain, hindbrain, and spinal cord. During week 6, the embryo continues to develop rapidly. As Casey Rawson on Science 360, Developing the Brain, says, at 26 days, the human brain cells begin to develop at the rate of 250,000 per minute. This is also when the embryo will show some distinguished features other than the brain that would show on an ultrasound. By the 6th week, the embryo will show the forming of the left and right hemispheres of the brain. This is also when the neural tube that we discussed earlier will close, connecting the brain and spinal cord. By these weeks, the fetus brain, by the 7th and 8th week, the fetus brain, specifically the hindbrain or the lower part of the brain stem, will continue to take a responsibility for the heartbeat, breathing, and muscle movement. As described in the How Brains Develop YouTube video, by 8 weeks the basic structures of the brain and central nervous system are in place. By week 9, the fetus's nervous system has now developed. In weeks 10, 11, and 12, the fetus had developed their spinal cord, which now allows for their spinal nerves to become further distinguished from their spine. This is now when they spread out from the spine. At week 13, the fetus continues to grow, and it is now at the end of the first trimester. At week 14, the embryo is practicing breathing, inhaling, and exhaling. By 15 weeks, their sense of hearing is developing. By week 16 and 17, the uterus is expanding due to the fetus's growth, as well as their bone hardening. Now by week 18, the fetus has developed a sensitivity to light, as the visualatory system will later develop. By week 19, the motor neurons are allowing the fetus to move voluntarily, as well as further develops the hemispheres of the brain, the hemispheres of the left and right brain. At 20 and 21 weeks, the nerve cells continue to make connections, which will later help with the development of the fetus sensory perception. Leading to the end of the 22nd and 23rd week, all nerve cells are fully developed to complete the nervous system. Now from weeks 24 and 25, the fetus develops auditory and visual systems, as well as the spinal cord hardening near the end of the 25th week. At 26 weeks, the brain tissue develops the gyri and sulcus part of the brain, known as the cerebral cortex area of the brain. This is the area where there is folds and creases in the brain. The end of the 27th week, the fetus is processing senses due to the cerebral cortex. At the 28th week, the third trimester begins, and the last trimester, also known as the third trimester, begins. Now, with weeks 29 through 40, the fetus continues to grow by developing connections to nerve cells, making complex connections, as well as rapid movements of the nerves and wiring within the brain and the fetus's body. During these last few weeks, the fetus's brain will continue to develop as the last organ along with the lungs to develop. Thank you. I hope this helped a lot with learning how your embryo, fetus, or baby is developing in utero.